هاتب كينسيوا حارو نيشن وسيري حريب نيشن ينابو تبتياوف يميوا نيبو تختيس.
Ancient Egyptian language is the language that was spoken in ancient Egypt for thousands of years. It is one of the world's oldest languages with a rich history and was used for religious texts, literature, and everyday communication. The earliest stage of the language, used from around 2600 BCE to 2000 BCE. It is primarily found in inscriptions and texts on tombs and monuments.
Vjetët 1554, 20 mars sunan fill. E mbarovan dhe vjetët e 1555.
Old Albanian refers to the early stages of the Albanian language, before the development of a standardized written form. The earliest known written records in Albanian date back to the 15th century. One of the most significant texts from this period is the Formula e Pagazimit, the baptismal formula, a religious text written in Albanian using the Latin alphabet. Over the centuries, the Albanian language has undergone significant changes in vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation, evolving into the modern Albanian language spoken today in Albania, Kosovo, Macedonia, and parts of Montenegro and Greece.
Ieria, Eke, Efketove, Etonio, Eketeo, Ndamode mi pasi, Kotonao, Kekemenao.
Mycenaean Greek is the earliest form of the Greek language that is attested in writing. It was used by the Mycenaean civilization, which flourished in ancient Greece from around the 15th to the 12th century BCE, during the Late Bronze Age. The Mycenaean Greeks are best known for their impressive palaces, such as those found at Mycenae, Tiryns, and Pylos, as well as for their distinctive linear B script, which was used for administrative and economic purposes.
Dariush, Kshayafya, Wazirka, Kshayafya, Kshayafyanam, Kshayafya, Parsai, Kshayafya, Dahyunam, Mishtas, Pachya, Pusa.
Old Persian is an ancient Indo-European language that was spoken in ancient Persia, modern-day Iran, during the Achaemenid Empire, which existed from the 6th to the 4th century BCE. It was the administrative language of the Persian Empire and was used extensively for royal inscriptions, official documents, and monumental inscriptions. Old Persian is written in the cuneiform script, a system of writing that was commonly used in ancient Mesopotamia and Persia. The most significant corpus of Old Persian texts comes from the inscriptions of Achaemenid kings, including Darius the Great and Xerxes.
Юңсур bir sarık atır körmül, bir at yağır tiyal tartır erdi, ikinci at yük yüklenir erdi.
Proto-Turkic is the reconstructed common ancestor of the Turkic language family. It is a hypothetical language that linguists believe was spoken by the early Turkic people. The Turkic language family is a group of related languages that are spoken across a vast area from Eastern Europe to Siberia and Central Asia. Linguists use the comparative method to reconstruct Proto-Turkic. This involves analyzing similarities and regular correspondences in the sound systems and vocabulary of different Turkic languages to infer the features of their common ancestor. Proto-Turkic likely existed several thousand years ago, but it is challenging to pinpoint an exact time frame due to the lack of written records from that period.
Enlil, Lukal Kurkura, Apa tingir-tingireneke, Inim kinanita, Ningersu, Sharapi kianesur.
Sumerian is the language of ancient Sumer, which is considered one of the earliest known civilizations in human history. Sumer was located in the southern region of Mesopotamia, in what is now modern-day Iraq, during the Bronze Age. Sumerian is considered a language isolate, meaning it does not belong to any known language family, and it is not related to any other known language. Sumerians developed one of the earliest writing systems, known as cuneiform, around 3500 BCE. Cuneiform involved making wedge-shaped marks on clay tablets using a reed stylus. It was used not only for Sumerian but also for other languages in the ancient Near East.
summa awilumsu awatiya sa inakiya astukul ikulma eretiya imesma eretili la idurma dinadino tatis.
Akkadian is an ancient Semitic language that was spoken in the ancient city-states of Mesopotamia, in what is now modern-day Iraq and parts of Syria and Turkey. It is one of the earliest known Semitic languages and was used by the Akkadian Empire, one of the first great empires in human history. Akkadian was spoken and written during the period from approximately 2500 BCE to 600 BCE. It had a significant presence in Mesopotamia, especially during the Akkadian Empire, 2334 to 2154 BCE, when the Akkadian language became the lingua franca of the region.
एषः भारतदेशः अस्ति। एषः प्राचीनः ऐतिहासिकः सांस्कृतिकदेशः अस्ति।
Sanskrit is an ancient Indo-Aryan language that has a rich historical and cultural significance in the Indian subcontinent. Sanskrit is one of the oldest languages known to humanity and has a history spanning over 3,500 years. Its origins can be traced back to the Vedic period, which began around 1500 BCE. During this time, the sacred texts known as the Vedas were composed in Sanskrit. Sanskrit continued to evolve and flourish during the classical period, from around 500 BC to 500 CE, producing a vast body of literature, including epics, philosophical treatises, and scientific texts.
Látjátok felém szüntükkel, mik vagyunk, és a por somó vagyunk. Mönnyí miloszben törömtevé elevé miű isemüket Ádámot.
Old Hungarian, also known as Old Hungarian runes, refers to the ancient script used by the Hungarians prior to the adoption of the Latin alphabet. The exact origins and dating of Old Hungarian are subjects of scholarly debate. Some inscriptions date back to the 10th century, while others might be older. While Old Hungarian is no longer used for practical purposes, it holds cultural and historical significance for the Hungarian people. Efforts have been made to preserve and study this ancient script, and it continues to be a topic of interest for linguists and historians.
Na początce Bóg stworzył niebo i ziemię, ale ziemia była nieużyteczna a próżna, a ćmy były na twarzy przepaści.
The Old Polish language refers to the earliest historical stage of the Polish language, used from the 10th to the 16th century. Old Polish developed from the West Slavic languages spoken by the early Polish tribes. It was influenced by Latin, German, Czech, and other neighboring languages.
When that opera, with his sure sota, the drucht of March, hath pierced to the rota, and bathed every vine in switch liqueur.
Middle English refers to the form of the English language spoken and written roughly between the mid-12th century and the late 15th century. This period followed the Old English era and preceded the early Modern English period. Middle English marks a crucial phase in the evolution of the English language, shaping it into the form that would eventually become Modern English.
Tumanam ikita, pajay ikanuma, pakodip ikita, kani kabisbis, magkani ikita, bayo na beras.
The Proto-Austronesian language is the reconstructed common ancestor of the Austronesian language family. Austronesian languages are spoken in various parts of the world, primarily in Southeast Asia, the Pacific Islands, and Madagascar. The Proto-Austronesian language is the hypothetical precursor to these languages and is reconstructed by linguists based on the similarities and shared features among the descendant languages. Proto-Austronesian is believed to have been spoken by ancient seafaring peoples who lived in what is now Taiwan around 400 to 2000 BCE.
Πάτερ ημών, ο εν της ουρανής, αγιαστήτω το όνομά σου, ελθέτω η βασιλεία σου, γεννηθήτω το θέλημά σου, ως εν ουρανό και επί της γης.
Koine Greek, often simply called Koine, is an ancient Greek dialect that emerged in the Hellenistic period and became the common spoken language in the Eastern Mediterranean and the Middle East from the 4th century BC to the 4th century CE. It was the lingua franca of the region during the time of the Roman Empire and the early Byzantine Empire. The term koine means common, reflecting its status as a simplified, standardized form of Greek that developed from a fusion of various ancient Greek dialects. It arose due to the need for communication among the diverse populations of the vast Hellenistic world after the conquests of Alexander the Great. Over time, Koine Greek evolved into medieval Greek, which eventually gave rise to modern Greek, the form of the language spoken in Greece and Cyprus today.
Pagi-pagi hari terbit, menyinari tasik yang hijau di bawah ia. Aku lihat habis dari rumah aku di laut.
Proto-Malaic is the reconstructed ancestor of the Malaic languages, a branch of the Austronesian language family. It is the hypothetical language from which modern Malay, Indonesian, and other related languages have evolved. Proto-Malaic likely existed thousands of years ago in the Malay Peninsula and the surrounding regions, forming the basis for the languages spoken in present-day Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei, southern Thailand, the Philippines, and parts of the island of Borneo.
Fac dau știre, domnie tale, zălucru turcilor. Cum am auzit eu că împăratul au ieșit din Sofia și Amintrea nu e, și s-au dus în sus spre Dunăre.
Old Romanian, also known as Early Romanian or Daco-Romanian, refers to the early stage of the Romanian language, which evolved from the Latin spoken in the region of Dacia, corresponding to modern-day Romania and Moldova, during the Roman colonization in the 2nd and 3rd centuries AD. In the centuries that followed, Old Romanian underwent significant phonetic, morphological, and lexical changes due to various influences, including the Slavic and Turkic languages spoken in the region form. By the 16th century, Old Romanian had evolved into a distinct Romance language, retaining some Latin vocabulary and phonetic features while incorporating elements from other languages. Over time, this language developed further into modern Romanian, which is spoken today in Romania, Moldova, and parts of neighboring countries.
Il me fut rapporté et certifié par un chevalier nommé Amaury que vous étiez morte d'enfant.
Middle French refers to the form of the French language spoken and written roughly between the 14th and 17th centuries. This period falls between Old French, the language of the 9th to the 14th century, and Early Modern French, the language of the 17th to the mid-18th century. Middle French served as the administrative and literary language of France during the Renaissance and the Early Modern period. It eventually evolved into Early Modern French, which became the basis for Modern Standard French, the standard form of the language used today.
De los ojos tan fuerte mientras llorando, tornaba la cabeza y estaba los catando. Vio puertas abiertas, de usos encañados.
Old Spanish, also known as Medieval Spanish or Classical Spanish, refers to the earliest form of the Spanish language that was spoken from the 9th century to the end of the 15th century. It evolved from Vulgar Latin, with influences from various other languages due to the historical and cultural interactions in the Iberian Peninsula. By the end of the 15th century, Old Spanish started transitioning into Early Modern Spanish, especially after the publication of the first grammar book of Spanish, written by Antonio de Nebrija in 1492. This marked the beginning of the modern Spanish period, which continues to be spoken today. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked this video, don't forget to rate it and leave a comment below with your thoughts. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel to not miss out on future videos about similar topics. Thanks again for your support and see you in the next video.